Hello everyone. In today's module, we will be reviewing CAM reconciliation and how to add operating costs and condition within our system. First of all, your operating costs are expenses landlord or property management incurs to keep its operation running on a day-to-day basis. These costs can include things such as CAM, utilities, and other expenses that are necessary for a building to function. Your operating costs can improve a company's competitiveness in the marketplace, and when well managed, they are directly related to your year-end reconciliation, which once again we'll discuss a bit further down onto our module. To add an operating cost, go into your location and click on the plus button. Here you will be prompted to create your operating cost period, and you'll need to select your year and also the status with whether it's in progress or finalized. Once you've selected it, you can choose your cost expenses and determine which expense group has any expense type associated to it. For example, if we were to choose CAM, you'd be able to add a building maintenance under your expense type and enter that amount. If, for example, your building maintenance is $6,000 a year, you'll be able to enter that amount. And if you have a revised amount, you can also enter it and click on the toggle menu for this amount to be considered. You can do so multiple times by adding several different expenses. And always remember that you can also delete them if you don't require them anymore. You also have the possibility to upload a document here and add any notes at the bottom. To add a note, simply click on the plus button, add your comments, and click Save. Once all this information has been entered, you can go ahead and click on Save. As you can see, your years that have been previously entered in your operating cost will be reflected on this page, and you'll have also the total at the bottom, and you can add as many years as you want and determine their status, as I mentioned, whether it's finalized or pending as well. Once your operating costs have been entered within the system, you can now go ahead and move on to your condition within the lease part of your file. Keep in mind that the Condition tab defines all the conditions that dictate the commitments that must be assumed under the lease. The terms defined in this section do not need to have dates attached to them. It's a visual way to summarize each condition defined in the lease and to be able to read information quickly without having to search in the contract. For each lease condition you have defined, you can specify who it will be managed by and paid by. To create a condition, click on the plus button. Here you can fill out all mandatory information such as expense type, start date, end date, and condition type. As you can see here, you have an entire list of expense type. If you wish to add more, simply click on the plus button. Once you have defined your mandatory fields, you can also select your condition type. If you were to select a ProShare condition type, you will then be prompted to select a fixed or an area-based ProShare. If, for example, you have selected a fixed ProShare, you can go ahead and put your percentage within the system. You will then be prompted to select your cap, whether it's none, a fixed cap, over year, or over base. As you can see here, you have different types of formula for different types of caps, whether it's over base cumulative, over base compounded, or over year cumulative and compounded. As you can see, each formula is based on different cap types. Once everything has been selected, you can also add notes at the bottom here, and you can simply go ahead and click on Save. Once you click Save, the list will be updated and you'll have all the information you previously added right here. As you can see, if you were to add a type as CAM, you can define exactly who it is managed by, who it is paid by, your admin fee percentage, and even the page and the section of your lease where your condition is written. Year-end reconciliation is the process of reviewing and reconciling the expenses associated with maintaining common areas in a multi-tenant commercial property, such as a shopping mall or an office building. During the year-end reconciliation, the landlord or property manager will review the expenses incurred during the year for things like landscaping, cleaning, and maintenance of common areas. These expenses are typically shared among the tenants of the building based on the proportion of space that each tenant occupies. In Nakisa Real Estate, it's important to enter all required information prior to be able to reconcile all your invoices. As explained in the first part of the video, we first must enter our lease conditions, and then we must enter our operating costs. Once everything is done, we can move forward and go on to our reconciliation tool within the lease condition as shown on the screen. Let's go ahead and add a reconciliation period by clicking on the plus button. Here you must select the year that we previously entered within our operating costs. And then you can select your year and the dates and the status. For the status, you can determine whether it's pending, partially reconciled, or reconciled. We also must map our operating cost expenses to lease condition type for the reconciliation to be calculated. Each expense group needs to be associated to an expense type depending on the conditions that have been previously added into the system. We will select CAM as an expense type for our expense groups. Documents pertaining to the reconciled period and expenses can also be uploaded here. Once all the information has been mapped out and added, you can go ahead and click on Save. Once you click on Save, you'll see this page refresh and you'll have all the information here, including the total amount of money. If you want to go in, you could go ahead and click on the three dots and edit period. The lease reconciliation details will appear at the top. Here we have the expense group that has been selected in our location operating costs, along with our operating cost expense type. We then have the start date and the end date of our condition, and our operating cost, which is also our pro share, which have been defined in our condition tab. Our cap defines the maximum amount we ought to pay for a particular expense type, and the actual cost column reflects the pro share cost plus the cap amount. Since we do not have a cap in this case, the amount will be the same. We then have the admin fee percentage column and the admin fee amount that has been selected once again in our conditions tab. Our expense cost will be our actual cost plus our admin fee, and our total cost will be an addition of all our operating cost expense types. Any accrued amount will be shown in this column. And then our balance will be reflected based on the total cost column and our accrual amount column. The lease reconciliation tool allows the user to see all posted payments relating to the categories that have been previously selected in the system. These amounts reflect posted payments, meaning that all payments that have been paid to the owner. This tool allows the users to cut costs and reduce the risk of error. Once all the information has been entered within the system, you'll see that you'll have the ability to click on Calculate. Once the Calculate button has been engaged, you really have the entire calculation automatically done by the system. Please note that in order to be able to calculate your reconciliation period, your lease must be active. In this module, we have learned how to use Nakisa's CAM reconciliation tool and how to input our clauses, our conditions, and our operating costs within the system.